everyone, my name is Dr. Vince Dominguez. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're clicking for the very first time today, this is my 28-part masterclass series where I'll be performing and teaching every etude from Victor Polatschek's Advanced Studies for the Clarinet as an online resource for advanced high schoolers, college level students, and anyone else that needs a reference outside their individual practice. In the Advanced Studies, Victor Polatschek wrote these etudes based on orchestral excerpts, lecture works, the musical styles, and many different composers. On the whole, I love these studies because they provide a really good opportunity to explore a wide range of genres while addressing all aspects of clarinet technique. Now, for the purpose of these classes and performances, I'll be providing some performance tips on how you can interpret this music on your own at home. Hope you like what you see, and please be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell to stay updated with all other upcoming content on my channel down the road. With all that being said, let the performance begin. Welcome to my masterclass for Etude 23, a study composed in the style of Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, looking back, way back to Etude 1 from this book, we can take a few tips on what we learned in that study and apply it to here. As clarinetists, our instrument was not invented until the end of the Baroque era, so we are without the wealth of repertoire that many other wind instruments have available to them. That being said, I believe this etude really provides a really nice opportunity to explore a genre that we don't usually have presented to us in a standard setting. Moving forward, let's recap a little bit what we talked about in the first etude. As far as melody, harmony, counterpoint go, Bach wrote them so intricately intertwined that it became challenging to kind of tell where one ended and the other began. As we can tell in this etude, there's a lot of elision, so we have one melody kind of bleeding into the other, we have one line bleeding into the next, so it doesn't really end. It's very monotonous. There's not a lot of places to breathe. You kind of have to phrase it in a way that makes sense. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like a lot of notes on the page. So that being said, take some time to really understand how the etude is structured. Play through it very slowly. Kind of take time to understand where the harmonic tension is being played. I think in my recording, you can kind of hear that where I'm putting a little bit more stress and emphasis on certain notes, kind of backing off just a little bit, but not taking too much time as we would in the Romantic era by using rubato phrasing. So all this being said, this etude really comes down to your ability to phrase, pace. The breathing's a little bit tricky because there's really not a lot of opportunities, and making it sound easy. I think with a lot of Baroque music, it tends to sound a little bit too technical, where we really need to have the technique sing through the melody. We really need to have it sound easy, elegant, beautiful, and not let the technique override all of that. So getting into the music, the material that we're working with today in this etude is in E-flat major, common time, and provides a beautiful technical exercise in peaky patterns, phrase structure, and the Baroque style as we just talked about. Marked at allegro, I suggest a performance tempo of maybe 120 or so, not too fast that we lose the melodicism and the elegance that is really central to this particular style. Now, written in the key of E flat major, I think one of the most challenging aspects of this etude is going to be the technical fluency that must be achieved. We have a lot of independent left hand motion with these throat tones. We need to make sure that we are using our right hand to vent and even out the timbre when possible. There's a lot of pinky motion between the left hand and the right hand, vice versa. It's outlined by a series of scalar and broken third sequences throughout. So there's a lot going on here, but it's really nothing that's completely foreign if you've been working on your technical exercises up until now. If you haven't, I really recommend working on E flat major studies, C minor studies, any kind of study that involves more than three flats or more is going to be really beneficial to being able to produce a really clean line and really making sure this technique doesn't get in the way of trying to create a really beautiful melody. Oftentimes we have instances where there's a call and response technique used, so practicing this slowly again will really allow you to understand how to effectively shape each phrase, since Polatschek doesn't really include many dynamic or expressive markings as well. For a general rehearsal, a good rule of thumb is to never go faster than you can play the most difficult section clean. So as you're going through this slowly, identify that most difficult section and work around that and build the tempo up from there. Now regarding fingering choices, take some time to plan out which ones you'll use. More often than not, we're going to be going from our left C5 to our right E flat 5. On some clarinets, we have the option of the left E flat 5, but I just find this motion to be a little more clunky than going from the left to the right. More often than not, that's the motion that we'll use for most arpeggiated sequences using those two notes. There's a lot of intervals of that minor third throughout that are going to be used, so just make sure that you are staying cognizant of that, because that's pretty common and you really have to make sure that that is really second nature to get this sounding really clean. Jumping in, let's talk a little bit about the first phrase and how we can apply this one idea to the rest of the etude. Now, looking at the pickup that begins this first phrase, we want to give a really clear sense of direction and how to expand it, making sure that every note is given equal importance until the beginning of the next slur. To me, even though the tempo is a little bit on the faster side, I'm still really trying to think of playing as lyrically as possible, making sure not to lose the quality in the speed. For the most part, this etude is structured in sort of a call and response, as I've said, where one phrase links to the other very seamlessly. So keeping this in mind, practice this with the notion that we have two voices in conversation, so to say, and try to use the ascension and descension of the line to your advantage to bring out the nuances. Now, jumping ahead to measure 18, the original motive has been developed and we have a good example of how to create a musical dialogue within one phrase. Although we're just working on this one phrase, we can apply this concept to the rest of the etude and it should make more or less, make sense more or less. So starting at the beginning of this measure, begin by playing to the start of measure 19. At this point, we can create a little bit more contrast in how we are creating the line by growing through the ascending portion of the line and then immediately placing more emphasis on the lower part of the line to answer what we just established. So call, response. Keeping this in mind, practice with the idea of giving and then receiving. Call, response, similar to writing with words. Our sentences need to have structure and end with some sort of punctuation. With solo music, especially with solo phrasing, I think that we really have to create a sense of structure, even though we're the only ones playing. So thinking about how to carefully phrase our musical ideas is definitely one of the most important aspects of playing any solo instrument piece. It's also a skill that will take you far in chamber music with other people. And with that, we've reached the end of Etude 23 in Victor Polatschek's Advanced Studies for the Clarinet. Having reached the end of this masterclass, I hope you've gained a little bit of knowledge that prepares you for a very awesome performance in the future. In case you have any additional questions on this etude, as always, please feel free to comment below or send me an email. In the meantime, thank you so much for clicking today, and I'll see you next time for Etude 24. Happy practicing, stay safe, and see you again soon.